Well, thank you, Terrapin, for this opportunity. Today, my presentation is about broadband access and its relationship with the submarine cables. I will first present the market and its evolution in Africa, and then I will give you a vision of our vision to better address the market demand. But before this, I will briefly tell you who Telecom Italia Sparkle is. Telecom Italia Sparkle is the international arm of Telecom Italia, who have over 100 million of mobile and broadband customers in the world. Telecom Italia Sparkle itself has a presence in more than 40 countries in the world, and we operate on the wholesale, retail, and corporate level for both voice and data. So having said that, let's move into the presentation. Broadband access is a chance. There is a huge demand to address, and this demand will not decrease in the next years. If we are capable to provide the right product at the right price in the right time, then this is a bingo. However, it's not simple to match the market demand. For instance, giving cheap internet access together with expensive international capacity. But let's see now the market demand. If we see on this graph, the penetration rate for Africa is very low. This is the last one on the graph, and it's still far below the average worldwide. Is this an issue? Let's say this is an opportunity that will give us a job for the next 5 years, obviously. Now, more seriously, let's go deeper into Africa. This graph gives the internet usage per million of inhabitants for the 5 regions of Africa. It's incredible to see that there is 10 times difference between North Africa and East Africa, where 3 major cable land so far. Let's see in detail for some countries. If we take the example of Egypt and Kenya, we can see that there is a big difference in consumption of IP transit. Let's see for another example. If we see Algeria and Tanzania, both of them have similar penetration rates. However, the delta is even bigger than for the previous example. Amazing, isn't it? Let's see why we have come up to this kind of situation. Let's do a jump in the past and remember what was our life 3-4 years ago. We are in the early 2009, and the cable have not landing in East Africa so far. The data cost for the transmission towards Europe or towards IP transit providers is the highest in the world, and the available bandwidth is very limited. There is almost no internet access. All the region relies upon satellite only. So the consequences are there is a very limited internet usage. The usage is limited to emails and basic web browsing, and downloading a video was nearly impossible. Forget about YouTube. But one day, in mid-2009, the first cable have landed in East Africa. And this has given opportunities. The first one, there is more bandwidth available in the market. If we take the example of Kenya, we increased the capacity by 10-fold from one year to another. But the second consequence is in terms of prices. We moved from a 4-digit price era at the time of the satellite monarchy to a 3-digit price just 1 year after. And this is not finished. We expect to be in a 2-digit price for the data transmission in the next future, because there is still unused capacity on the cable and more upgrade to come. But let's see whether that would be enough to respond to the market. The broadband growth is driven by the penetration rate and the broadband speed. The broadband speed, because it will be very hard to add further services and therefore further revenues without a minimum of bandwidth. The penetration rate is directly linked to the affordability of the services, and the broadband speed is directly linked to the price per meg. So it's all about money. Let's not forget the previous example. Remember Egypt and Kenya. As we see on the left, the internet usage or the IP transit used in Egypt, it's 10 times bigger than in Kenya. On the other side, on the right side, the cost of transmission is 30 times bigger from one country to another. This is blocking every activity on the broadband. So the price on the cost on the submarine cables are by far too expensive. Of course, there is a necessary return on investment to achieve, but there is also a trade for price elasticity to cover the return on investment for all operators, submarine cables and broadband operators. There is another key factor to achieve broadband growth. This is the quality of service, and in particular, the availability and the latency. Regarding the latency, there is a huge demand now for improved performances regarding accessing the content and exchanging intra-regional traffic. Regarding availability, despite the recent cut we have seen in the last days, we have seen very few improvements in looking for diversity. Let's have a look at the last cable cut we had. 2012 has been very rich this year again in events. We have had 5 cuts in 5 months, and May is not finished yet. We have had even 4 cable cuts at a time in February and March, and Teams has been cut twice in 1 month. This is scary, isn't it? And something even more important, although it's very rare to have multiple cuts, the reality tends to show that this is happening more frequently in our region. So definitely there is a necessity for more diversity. Let's see the example of our IP POP in Djibouti. You see the graph that shows the IP consumption during the last months. And despite the first alerts in February and March, we have restored even more capacity during the May event, demonstrating that really there is again a need for more diversity on the cable. This drives me to the conclusion. The first thing is a little part of the market broadband is addressed so far. There is a huge demand for more services, and therefore this is very positive news. The second one, the submarine costs are still very high, and we have noticed recently 2-digit prices on the East Coast. Although this is still high, this is a very encouraging message. And the third one is everybody has in his head the recent cut on the East Coast. While we should consider this as a day-to-day issue, let's accept that a cable can be cut, and let's design a proper diversity, and we'll all better sleep at night. Thank you very much.
Right, to open any questions off the floor? Thierry, was there not a new cable that's just been laid East Africa that they commissioned towards the end of last year?
End of last year?
Yeah.
Easy was commissioned in July 2010, and just recently we have Lion 2, which is about to be, there is, Lion 2 is commissioned, there is the Seychelles cable coming from Seychelles up to Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. So this one will bring capacity to Seychelles. That will be interesting for these guys as well.
No, and I heard also extreme high speed access as well on that Seychelles one. But yeah. At a high cost, though, because there was a lot of problems that they experienced on laying that cable.
Excuse me, say it again?
There was a lot of problems in getting the cable laid?
Not that I know. I'm not sure.
Okay. Right. Any questions off the floor, gentlemen? For Thierry? No, thank you very much, Thierry.